Hi everybody, this is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Today I have a layout that I made using the August My Creative Scrapbook limited edition kit. While I completed this layout in August, I did not complete the video for it. I actually have quite a few layouts that I completed and then never either edited or voiced over or both. I'm working really hard right now to try to get all of those videos completed and then put them up on my YouTube channel. I was also in a little bit of a scrapbooker's rut. I think that I had just been scrapbooking every single day and I got a little bit burnt out. So I like the idea of taking a little break, finishing up some videos, and pretty soon I'm going to be creating some layouts for next month's My Creative Scrapbook limited edition kit. I started off this layout by fussy cutting a whole bunch of butterflies from one of the pattern papers that was in the August kit. They were all different sizes and a number of different shapes. I wanted to make them all different colors, so I used some Tattered Angels Glimmer Mists and some Color Bloom 2 sprays by Prima. I sprayed them into this small tray, and then I used a paintbrush and I began to paint them. Some of the butterflies are just one color, but most of them have more than one color. I liked the idea of mixing together colors like pink and green and purple and green and purple and pink. I sprayed each of the butterflies with a little water that just helps the color move around a little bit. As I completed painting each butterfly, I moved it off the paper towel and I allowed it to dry on the mat. I chose some very vibrant, bright colors for the butterflies. The pink color is a Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist called Strawberry Cream. I used two different colors of green. One was a Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist. That was called Leapfrog. And then the other one was a Prima Color Bloom 2 spray called Golden Oregano. I also used a Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist for the purple. That was called Purple Rain. The orange is called Golden Bronze, and that is also a Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist. I'm using those same colors and I'm making a mat for my photo. I'm just going to put small patches of color going around the circle because only a little bit of it is going to show behind the photo. As I was adding the color to this circle, I noticed that unlike the butterflies, this paper absorbed the color right away and the water didn't really help me to spread it around. So instead of using water, I overlapped the colors a little bit and that helped them to blend together. I continued adding the color until I had completed adding color all the way around the circle. Now all of the butterflies are dry and I want to add some splatters to them. So I'm using some watered down white acrylic paint. Now that all of the sprays on the butterflies have dried, I want to add some splatters to them. I'm using some white acrylic paint that I watered down and I'm splattering that all over the butterflies. Just to be totally honest and transparent, there were things I really liked about this layout and there were things that I wasn't as crazy about. I love these butterflies. I love the combination of colors and I think that the butterflies are really beautiful and I like the way the watercolor took to the paper. The colors showed up really vibrantly. I'm not 100% in love with the composition that I used, but I do think that I would do this technique again. I would use the same piece of paper and I would just arrange the butterflies maybe a little bit differently on my layout. I'm using my Creative Memories large circle cutter to cut a circle out of the center of this beautiful piece of gray 49 and Market paper that we got in the August kit. Then I used some gesso and I rubbed it onto the page. I want to create a white halo going all the way around this large circle. Gesso seems to dry a lot lighter than it looks when you first apply it, so I went back in a couple of areas and I added a second coat of it. Now I'm adding some splatters to the background. I'm again using the watered down white acrylic paint and I'm just splattering it all around the paper that's in the background. This piece of pattern paper had a lot of white areas, so I wasn't afraid to use a lot of splatters. Some of the splatters aren't really visible because they kind of fade in with the white that's in the pattern paper. I kept adding splatters until I was happy with what was in the background, and then I put that piece of pattern paper aside to dry. I then moved on to my photo. I usually put a white mat around the photo, and I really like the way that that looks because I think that it really gives a lot of attention to the photo. In this case, I used the rainbow mat instead, and then after I had attached the photo down to that rainbow mat, I then matted the rainbow mat on another slightly larger circle. And I used my scissors and I distressed the edges so that they would look a little bit rustic. And to cut out each of these circles, I used some smaller Creative Memories circle cutters. I've bought a lot of circle cutting tools over the years, but the Creative Memories are my favorite. They always make a really nice cut. I continue to add some distressing to the gray mat. I did that by bending in the edges. And then I added a chipboard title to the photo. It says Time Treasured. Now I'm going to start assembling the background. I started off with a piece of paper from my stash that I know I won't use, so I'm going to mount everything on top of it. I mounted a piece of black cardstock. It has the center cut out, but I'm mainly using that for the black edge. And then on top of that, I'm layering this gray piece of paper. This is the pattern paper that I added the splatters to earlier. I just cut it back a little bit so it would be a little bit smaller than 12 by 12. This piece of black paper was cut out of the center of the piece of paper that I put in the background. I splattered it with some white acrylic paint splatters and I let it dry. And now I'm mounting that in the center of the layout. Here is my photo. I'm adding some adhesive to the back of that so that I can attach that down to the layout. And next I start adding my butterflies. I'm going to have 2 rows of them. One is going to rest against the black circle, and then the other butterflies are going to be in the center of the black circle. I picked the larger butterflies for the outside ring, and then I picked some smaller butterflies for the inside ring. Now at first I rested the butterflies against the gray mat, and I kind of like the way that looks, but then eventually I decided that I didn't want them resting against the gray mat, and I moved them to the center of the black circle. Then I started adding some foam to the backs of the butterflies. I wanted to give them a little bit of dimension, so I'm using some fun foam. I continued around those 2 circles until I had all of the butterflies popped up on the foam. Then I went back in once again with that watered down white acrylic paint. I didn't want to get a ton of splatters on the butterflies. I have some on there, but I wanted to put quite a few on that black circle. So I removed the butterflies temporarily, and then I added some white splatters on the black circle. It didn't matter if I got some splatters on the background since I've already splattered that, but I had to be careful not to get it on my photo. I used some ATG adhesive, and then I attached all those butterflies down to the page. No sooner had I attached them down to the page than I decided that I wanted to move the butterflies, as I said before, to the center of the circle. I thought it would look nice if I added some brightly colored jewels to the black circle. I use a number of different colors. I have some purple jewels. I have orange jewels. I also use some green jewels, and I had 2 different colors of green that I used on the layout. I also added a couple of pink jewels, and I think that this really added a nice detail to the layout. I usually gravitate more toward enamel dots and pearls, but I think for this particular layout, jewels was the way to go. I think they went really well with the bright colors of the butterflies. I also added some black jewels between the butterflies on the outer ring of butterflies. I must have done that off camera, and now I'm using some watered down black acrylic paint and just adding a couple of black splatters all around the outside of the layout where I have that gray paper. And you can see that I'm using a large white circle to cover up the photo cluster so I don't get any black paint on that. The photo that I used on this layout, which you can't see right now, is of my older daughter Danielle when we were in Salem, Massachusetts at a place called the Black Veil Shop of Dreer and Wonder. It's a little hard to explain without going there. It had just the most amazing photo opportunities. We took photos by a gorgeous fireplace with all kinds of melted candles. There was a smoke machine, and there was just gorgeous furniture everywhere, and it had kind of a Halloween theme to it. We really enjoyed ourselves, and we were there for quite a long time. I might have been overthinking the layout too much. I wanted to add a white border to the butterflies that were on that black circle. So I used some Dr. P.H. Martin's Pro White and a little brush, and I brushed some of this white all around the outside of all of those butterflies. I'm not sure if it was absolutely necessary, but it added a little something to the layout. That was the last touch, and this layout is complete. Here are some close-ups. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you look in the description box, you'll find the link to all of the current My Creative Scrapbook kits. I hope that you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.